What are you doing? It doesn't work. Burnout? Or no? He's coming to get his brake caliper fixed because it fell off on the highway.
Hi, here at Brandon 24 Valve Off-Road, safety and laziness is our #1 priority because my arms fucking hurt after lifting it one time. I'm never doing that again. Also, I'm too broke to afford a forklift. Redneck scientist.
When? Right now we are dropping off the drive shaft for Terrence's truck, and hopefully that's done today. If it is, we can get it installed, and all we really need is the high steer knuckle and the brake lines, and I can get that thing on the road. I'm pretty sure I can throw a sway bar on it in no time. I have the tie rod and drag link and all that shit already pre-bent and ready to install. So right now we're pulling up to the drive shaft place. The drive shaft's in the bed with the yoke for the Ford axle. So let's go get that dropped off, and we will be able to hopefully get that installed later today in this video. Dropping off the drive shaft to get built, and back into Rusty Red to the shop. What on earth do we have here?
Some massive F550 axles.
Yeah, they're a lot bigger than just a stock Ford axle, but we're getting ready to cut all this bogus stuff off that you don't need on them, because I don't know why they have pin hard bars from the factory. They shouldn't have those like that.
I wake up, I go ball, I go harder with my dogs, bet it all. What's the call? Need a 10, never fall. Polo socks, polo jaws, keep it 10. Beat the odds, hit my line. What you want? I pick up, yeah. Love when the celly gon' ring. I'm putting on my team. Money come flowing, no sink. Spring, 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 spring. Double cup, cup my drink.
This probably has to be the worst thing about building these trucks with Ford axles. Those are Gabe's axles out there, so you already know who's coming here to strip these ones down. It ain't this guy. He's gonna come here, he's gonna cut all this stuff off of his axle, get his sway bar off of there, get the drag link out of there, get the stock coil buckets out of there, which needs some attention on getting out, but we'll figure that out. Get the radius arms off, cut this off, cut all this stuff off, and then he's gonna put these F250 axles underneath this F450. It should sit pretty nice, I would say, with 250 axles on it. Those 450 axles aren't cutting it. He breaks them every time he goes mudding. He breaks those 450 axles. So we thought 250 axles will be the best thing for this truck. So he's gonna come here, get those all stripped down, and get them underneath there today. Just dragged the rear axle in here. F550. The frame for this one actually is right there up on stands. You guys can see it. And Gabe's frame is back by the trailer. So they're gonna come here, get these things all sanded up, and we're gonna keep knocking it out. I'm also looking for axles for this, preferably F450 axles, just not that axle. So if any of you guys have F450 axles, 4-wheel drive, 2005 and newer, let me know if you guys wanna sell them, and or, you know, we take donations over here. So if you guys wanna donate your F450 axles, go ahead and do it. No, I'm just kidding, but I am looking for a set of axles for this. So if you guys have any, let me know. Oh boy. That's a big Larry Hoover meat right there. Bing bong. Just like that. It's kind of bad when your truck shits on 95% of dudes' trucks in the world. You have the baddest truck right now in our town and surrounding towns.
We live in Indiana. That's not much of a compliment.
Baddest truck?
Me.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see about that.
Doughboy. Do you see your truck over there?
Yeah, you're one right behind.
Where's the cab? Huh? You can't drive it like that?
Watch me. I'll Fred Flintstone that bitch.
Yeah, it's okay.
Drive shaft install? Yeah. 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
Fits perfect. I guess we're good at measuring. We have one flex. We can read a tape measure.
I mean, if you're going to build trucks, I hope you can read it. Freaking tape measure.
I used a ruler to build this one.
Yeah.
As you guys seen, Taryn put her drive shaft in, and we got her truck into the shop. Angle is not too terrible. We can always do some adjusting to that. I can lower the back of the trans. I probably get an inch out of it, which will make a big difference on the drive shaft. But the angle is not bad at all compared to some things that are out there. But we're getting ready to mount the cradle up on my big truck, and Gabe's coming here to build a drop bumper. The cradle for my truck is insanely massive, but with how big the truck's gonna be, I think the cradle looks sick on there. So I'm gonna get that mounted up, and we're gonna maybe pick up axles inside this video. I've been on the hunt for these F450 axles because I don't want a 550 axle because there's no rear diff cover, and it's more of a drop-in on a 550 axle. I want to be able to run a diff cover like this one that unbolts. I can build a pretty badass brace on the back of it, and I'm gonna get an SCS drop box for it. I already got the rad flows. Coilover mounts, upper cross members, trusses, and arms is probably all I need. I lifted a few cradles back in my day.
In this episode of Brandon made his cradle too big.
No, it's not too big. Don't say that because it's not. It's
Takes up the whole frame.
no. There's still back half and front half, and enough room for my front bars, my back bars. It'll look like that right there. That cradle right there.
Doesn't
Here, you know
even
what?
compare.
You want to make fun of it? That's fine. That's fine. Your bar's gonna look like this.
No.
Fine by me. Look at that ugly shit. Yeah, that's what I thought. Look how. We got one of the bolts on, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more bolts to go. So I'm gonna sit back and relax for a few days and get back to the big truck in about 3 months. Well, I got the cradle on my big truck, and it's definitely a big truck. But Taryn's been working on her truck. What have you gotten done in the time that I got 4 bolts installed? You seem to have your bumpers off, and what else?
Switched the exhaust. Now it's an actual dump.
She made her axle dump for her truck.
Sounds
And
better.
Sounds better. My exhaust looks good underneath there.
Yeah. The hitch on.
Hitch is back on, and then we have to build sway bars, and then design the sway bar arms, and make links for it, along with for Gabe's truck. Coilovers finally arrived for the first gen, and we're gonna get these things mounted up onto the truck today and see how they look. And then I have to design a reservoir mount for these ones too. I got the front shocks installed on the first gen, and they sit perfectly how I wanted them to sit. I leaned them in on this truck because the frames are a lot narrower than the axles are, so they have a little bit of a tilt to them. But they're 10-inch travel, big shocks that we have on this build. I'm gonna go buy the bolts for the axle and the frame for the panhard, get that all tightened up today, and pull that front drive shaft out of it and start unhooking everything for the engine and the trans, because this motor and trans is coming out. I gotta drop a Cummins in it, so we're gonna get that all done. And we are waiting for the sway bar stuff for Gabe's truck to come, and Heim joints for sway bars on this one to come. Got the rear shocks out of the back. Well, I should say the rear dummy shocks that I had. I got them out of the back. And I don't know why, but with no shocks on the rear, that triangulation looks so much better. So right now, we're gonna grab the coilovers out of the shop. I have to finish welding this up. I can do that after the truck's back on the ground and inside the shop. We're gonna get wheels and tires ordered for it. I have to get the inner overlay cut for the rear, and I have to put the overlay on the upper cross member side of the rear, but I didn't do that yet because I wanted to get it welded in first. But this thing's coming together. Doughboy's truck's coming together. The builds in the shop are coming together. So I'm gonna grab our rear coilovers, take them out to the truck, and toss them on. The rear shocks are installed now on the first gen. Time to weld up the upper cross member, get some reservoir mounts made, and do a finish alignment on the arms and then get the high steer knuckle installed. But for now, we're gonna go inside the shop. And I actually got a rear axle for my big truck sitting inside there. So let's go get grinding down on that. Now that the first gen is all coilovered up, we got a dually axle now for my big truck that we came across. Nick from Backyard Fab actually hooked me up with it. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna strip down the leaf spring perches and the sway bar and shock mounts off of it. And that's really it on this axle. And then I can get the truss designed for it and get my upper cross member installed. But this axle's really clean, so I'm happy with it.
Spring, double cup, my drink. Love my little baby, no leak. I been counting money, no sheep. I get to it up in my sleep. Shorties had chain when the money came. Money been here, I'm getting money, babe. Need a money counter for the money, ayy. No, I need you here, so don't you run away. Mathematics act like a nerd. I'll be counting 30 by the third. Drop top doors, go vert. SRT, go skirt.
Axle is back from the sandblaster. So the reason being why I'm starting to sandblast my axles prior to doing anything to them is because now I can see exactly what else needs to be smoothed out. Like right there and right there. And then we're gonna fill these in. And it gives me a better surface to weld the truss to. That way there's not grinder marks all the way down it. So this is the first time I've done this on an axle since I've started doing lifts. But from here on out, I'm gonna start sandblasting just that for the time being. And obviously you guys see this isn't sandblasted. But let's get this axle unloaded. We're gonna drag her in the shop and put her on some axle stands for the prepping of an axle truss. Right here, the truck is kinda sorta sitting at ride height. And I gotta draw the new truss for it because that is off a 250 axle. And this is a 350 axle, which makes it a dually. And the 250 axle tubes are different, but the overall width from there to there is the same. So you guys can see here, I do some adjusting right there to the truss and down there to the truss. But that should be no problem. The knockout will still fit for the breather, which I'm gonna open up a little bit, that way I get a socket onto that. And I probably will cut these off because I'm not gonna have a cable driven e-brake. I'm gonna do electronic line lock on it. And definitely sanding down the axle tubes is a lot harder than just dropping it off at the sandblaster. So now that I have this underneath the truck, my upper cross member will be coming in soon in the next video. And the upper coilover mounts will be inside the next video. And I'm still looking for a front 350 axle. And hopefully, once I get that 350 axle, I can get the truck on the ground in the near future. But right now, I'm still trying to source the front axle for the truck. 2005 and newer. F350 axle for the front is what I'm looking for. I do know I need to fix the front bumper though. Just realized that this bumper has just kind of been chilling inside the frame. And we walk underneath it 5,000 times a day. So now, maybe we should just put some bolts out of it and tighten it up. That way no one gets domed in the head. Got the bumper tightened up and now there's no more of it hitting the fender. And it won't fall down on anybody. I love this front bumper on this truck. You guys seen the axle, but to end this video, I'm gonna show you guys, Taryn is working on her grill, her bumpers, and her hood for her truck. And the brake lines are supposed to be in here tomorrow. High steer knuckle is shipped. I have tracking on that. So we're planning on taking it down to the Indianapolis 4-wheel drive Jamboree in 2 weeks, I believe. I'm still looking for the 30s and 44s for it. But for now, we'll be able to at least drive it, or I should say test drive it, when the brake lines and the high steer knuckle come in. We can test drive on these wheels. We have to go ahead and get the gear oil for the axles and figure out the clocking of the T-case and the trans cross member for the front drive shaft because we want the front drive shaft to be inside of it. Still trying to come up with an idea to mount these reservoirs. She wants them to mount above here like I showed you guys before. But I'm trying to figure out whether I want to come off this plate down or straight out with it, piece of tubing and tubing clamps. I think if I come out right here with a piece of the tubing and then have it clamp underneath it would look the best, but I still gotta sit there and do the best engineering I can on that. Other than that, all of her overlays are on. The rear sway bar is mounted onto the frame. Still gotta draw up the arms for the sway bar, then get the links put onto it. With that being said, that's gonna end today's video. In the next video, you guys should see the bumpers and the hood and the grill back on here, along with my big truck having a lot more work done to it. With that being said,
I wake up, I go ball, I go harder with my dogs. Bet it all, what's the call? Need a 10, never fall. Polo socks, polo jaws, keep it 10. Beat the odds, hit my line, what you want?